threaded on a rusted wire that hung near a cluster of white rubber vines were thousands of pieces of banana stalk. The English Baptist Missionary Reverend John H Weeks photographed the seemingly endless rows of stalks and named the picture Native Tally of the Killed and Wounded. The longer stalks represented the men and chiefs that had been killed, and the shorter ones the murdered women and children. As many as 10 million Congolese men, women, and children were killed to enrich and bolster the reputation of one man, who sat upon a golden throne 10,000 kilometers away. Here is the life and crimes of King Leopold II and his Congo Free State. And this is Crown Undone. Born in Brussels on the 9th of April 1835, a year after his older brother died in infancy, Leopold became heir apparent to the Belgian throne, and the second child of Louise of Orléans, the daughter of the French king, and Leopold, the first king of the Belgians, who was elected ruler of a newly independent Belgium in 1831 after his first wife, Princess Charlotte, the only living grandchild of Britain's George III, died during childbirth. As an adolescent, it's said that Leopold was reserved and awkward. When he was 15, his mother died of tuberculosis, leaving him with a distant father who referred to Leopold as the little tyrant. In 1853, at just 18, Leopold married Marie Henriette of Austria, a cousin of Austria's Franz Joseph and a granddaughter of the former and penultimate Holy Roman Emperor Leopold II. The outgoing Marie was an artist, a musician, and an avid horse rider, to the point that despite her royal status, she would care for her horses herself. Although Leopold and Marie were technically married for nearly 50 years and would go on to have 4 children together, the death of their only son, Leopold, at just 9 years old in 1869 after he fell into a pond and developed pneumonia, caused an irreparable rupture in their relationship. Leopold and Marie tried one more time to have a son, but gave birth to their last daughter, Clementine, in 1872, and Marie spent the rest of her life in a different city, dying still estranged from her husband in Spa in 1902. Leopold was appointed to the Senate the same year that he was married, and in the period before he succeeded his father as the King of the Belgians, he served in the army, reaching the rank of Lieutenant General and travelling extensively across Europe, Africa, China, and India. Leopold I died of dysentery in 1865, and a 30-year-old Leopold took the oath of office and ascended the throne. Almost immediately, Leopold petitioned Spain's Queen Isabella II to cede the Spanish Philippines to Belgium. He was completely consumed by the fantasy of a far-reaching Belgian empire. In a letter he wrote to his brother years later, he explained that once his reign finished, the country would be strong, prosperous, and have colonies of her own, beautiful and calm. The first official phase of Leopold's imperial ambitions was the arrangement of an international conference in Brussels in 1876. Leopold invited scientists, explorers, and geographers, and soon established the Association for the Civilization and Exploration of Central Africa. He sent his first expedition to the region in April the next year, but before the team of 4 Belgians even got to Central Africa, 2 were dead. One died of heat stroke and the other from fever, and the remaining members quickly resigned. The failure of the expedition motivated Leopold to look for far more experienced explorers to take over. Henry Morton Stanley, famous for locating the Scottish explorer David Livingstone, was by that point practically a celebrity. Although Stanley had hoped to continue his work in Africa for the British, rumours of Stanley's cruelty during his trips to Africa unsettled even the British Foreign Office. To Leopold, though, these traits seemed advantageous. Established by Leopold and led by Stanley, the International Congo Association, or the ICA, which had already replaced both the Committee for Studies of the Upper Congo and the International African Association, basically functioned as a vehicle for Belgian colonization, and the territories that the association claimed would soon become known as the Congo Free State. As the ICA negotiated with tribal leaders and mapped out the vast lands that the association would soon acquire, the United States became the first country to officially recognize the ICA's sovereignty over the Congo, and the American Secretary of State proclaimed, "The government of the United States announces its sympathy with and approval of the human and benevolent purposes of the International Association of the Congo, administrating as it does the interest of the free states there established, and will order the officers of the United States to recognize the flag of a friendly government." The highest level of deception amid the scheme, however, was Leopold's rhetorical front of philanthropy. Belgian designs in the Congo claimed to prioritize importing the supposed benefits of Christianity, free trade, and the spirit of Western civilization. Britain signed a declaration that recognized that the ICA has been founded by His Majesty the King of the Belgians for the purpose of promoting the civilization and commerce of Africa and for other human benevolent purposes. In 1885, during the Berlin Conference, held to supposedly regulate the European colonization of Africa, Leopold was formally granted 2 million square kilometers of Central African territory, 76 times the size of Belgium. But instead of controlling the Congo Free State as a Belgian colony, Leopold ruled the area as if it were his private personal enterprise. It was the only private colony in the world, and Leopold even referred to himself as its proprietor. The Congo Free State's administration, courts, and army were all Belgian, and the regime quickly descended into pure and violent tyranny. The promises Leopold made to the world were immediately ignored. Trade was monopolized, Congolese men, women, and children were enslaved and forced to harvest rubber, ivory, and palm oil, all to enrich the king himself. Leopold decreed that all of the profit made through the work of the Congolese belonged to the state, and despite being rhetorically rooted in humanitarianism, the Congo Free State had built a system that, even by the harsh colonial standards of the day, was incomprehensibly cruel. Failure to meet the rubber collection quotas was punishable by death, and a private army made up of Congolese men employed by Leopold performed the punishments. Because it was supposed that Congolese soldiers would stockpile munitions or use the weapons they were given to hunt food, they were forced to prove that they had killed someone by providing the hands of their victims. It's also believed that severed hands came to serve as a form of gruesome currency, with Congolese soldiers being paid bonuses depending on the number of hands that they collected. In an oral testimony collected later, one Congolese man explained, "From all the bodies killed in the field, you had to cut off the hands. The state official wanted to see the number of hands cut off by each soldier, who had to bring them in baskets. A village which refused to provide rubber would be completely swept clean. As a young man, I saw a soldier take a net, put 10 arrested natives in it, attach big stones to the net, and make it tumble into the river. Rubber causes these torments. Soldiers made young men kill or rape their own mothers and sisters." Another testimony, gathered by an inquiry established to investigate the atrocities committed in the Congo Free State, features a woman explaining, "One day when my husband was in the forest to gather rubber, the sentinel, Ikolonda, found me in my hut where I stayed and asked me to give myself to him. I rejected this proposition. Furious, he fired a gunshot at me, which gave me the wound of which you can still see the trace. I fell backwards. He thought I was dead, and to retrieve the copper ring I was wearing on my lower leg, he cut off my whole foot." Belgian colonial administrators also abducted orphaned children and sent them to child colonies to train as soldiers, and over 50% of these children died. Throughout the existence of the Congo Free State, it's been estimated that 10 million people may have died as a result of famine, murder, and disease that ran rampant under Leopold's brutal regime. And to add insult to injury, Leopold ordered that an Africa museum be built on palace grounds just outside of Brussels in 1897. A human zoo would serve as a prison for 267 Congolese men, women, and children who were shown as exhibits near an invented African village. Over a bitterly cold summer, 7 of the imprisoned Congolese died of pneumonia and the flu, and their bodies were merely dumped in a nearby unmarked cemetery. Leopold II never set foot in his Central African territory, but those Europeans that did deemed the regime so cruel that in 1908, ownership of the Congo Free State was transferred to the Belgian government. Even so, the Congolese continued to suffer, and it was not until 1960 that a fierce fight for independence resulted in the establishment of the Republic of the Congo. Leopold II died on the 17th of December 1909, just a year after his private Congo Free State came to an end. His 44-year reign is still the longest in Belgian history. Those were the life and crimes of King Leopold II and his Congo Free State. And this was Crown Undone.